We are at the premiere of the Disney Plus documentary, The Sum of It All. I'm Ed Sheeran, and streaming exclusively on Disney Plus from tomorrow. We are at the premiere for The Sum of It All, which is coming out on Disney Plus tomorrow. The making of this series was, I just had loads of footage. I'd made a documentary a few years ago on Divide Being Made, and that was more on the songwriting element of it. And Fullwell had came to me and say, we want to make a documentary on you, but not really to do with your music, but to do with you as a human. And yeah, I was sort of like, here's a load of footage, and you guys decide what it is, and just follow me, and then it will present itself. And they've made what I think is a really beautiful documentary. It's uncomfortable for me at times to watch, but I think people will connect to it. I had to put a lot of trust in the filmmakers for this. Yeah, I mean, like my wife, Cherry, she's never been interviewed before. She's never been on screen. So that was like a big deal. My parents as well, them coming to my home, them sort of being around my family and my children. And yeah, you know, coming to Jamal's memorial and being backstage at this or in the studio. Like it was, I'm usually quite a private person, so it was quite a big deal to sort of open the door. I just want people to connect with my music the same way that they connect to me as a person. I feel that the series tackles subjects that everyone goes through. So it's not like me being like, I'm a famous person, these are famous problems. I feel like everyone goes through grief, everyone goes through mental health troubles, and everyone has sickness in their family.
Well, I think the main challenge of following an international pop star like Ed Sheeran is to find a way of telling an original story with him. And you're not necessarily in control of that. You have to get to know them and find out what their experience is. Ed took a huge amount of pride in the series. I think he worked on it like he was working on one of his albums, and it was an absolute pleasure to be a part of that. He has an image of being an ordinary guy. But I think there's a lot more to him as well, and I think the audiences are going to be both enriched and surprised by going through the emotional journey that he went through with us in the film.
The opportunity to work with him and make a documentary with him was incredibly exciting to us. We couldn't have ever expected the year that he had while we were making this film, but he's a legend, and at a very young age, and the fact that he's so humble and that he's come from the UK and that he's achieved what he's achieved, I think it's probably unprecedented, and so we were over the moon that he agreed to make this documentary with us. I think if you were just making any series about Ed Sheeran, it would be exciting because of everything that goes on in his life, where he's come from, a kid with a stutter who came from Ipswich and went on to be one of the biggest stars in the world. But when you look at what he's gone through, the year that he had, the loss of his best friend, the illness that his wife suffered, and everything else that he's going through, while still being the #1 touring artist in the world, and how this film actually touches on grief and friendship and love. I think it's a really compelling series and one that we're really proud of.
Ed himself is pretty special. I think this story is the story of a year in his life, and it can have all the hits in the world, but you actually can't protect yourself from the most human things in the world, and it's a very human story, and really it's an insight into Ed that I think we've never had before. I think Ed's been around for so many years that we feel like we know him, but I don't think you really have got underneath the skin of him until you really see this film. And Ed was incredibly open to us, and the emotional access that he gave us was unprecedented really in the stuff that we've done, and we were really pleased that we managed to get him to that place, and he trusted us to sort of hand over that really personal emotion and information about his story. And we're incredibly thankful to Ed, Cherry and their team for sort of opening up to us in a way that they haven't done before.